Hello, it's Etan, and I'm here in a parking lot at the southeast corner of LAX, the Los Angeles International Airport, and I'm standing in front of Hangar One, which was the very first building built at LAX back in 1929, and the only one still standing from its earliest days. When Hangar One was built, this whole area was surrounded by bean and barley fields. It was a ranch owned by a guy named Andrew Bennett, stretched for thousands of acres around here. In the 1920s, a guy named William Mines came to town, and he leased a strip of land in between a couple of Bennett's fields to use as a thin landing strip, and it became known as Mines Field. Now, this was very early days of aviation. LA didn't have its own municipal airport, and so when the city came around looking for a location for its first official airport, they settled on Mines Field. One of the reasons was that it had been chosen for a very high-profile event called the 1928 National Air Races. The city leased 640 acres of the Bennett Ranch for about 10 years. They extended that to 50 years in 1930, the same year that the LA Municipal Airport officially opened. And then in 1937, they just went all in and bought the whole property outright. Now let's talk a little bit about Hangar One itself. It was built in 1929, leased to the Curtiss Wright Company, a major airplane manufacturing company at the time, who wanted to open up a flight school right here in Los Angeles. It was designed by the firm of Gable and Wyant. They did it in the Spanish colonial revival style with all those red tiles up on the top, and you can see these arched arcades. It was part of a complex of buildings all built in the same style over the next few years. Now, Hangar One played an important role in early LA aviation history. So in 1929, this was where the German Graf Zeppelin anchored on its way around the world. It had just come over from Japan and stopped in LA as it circumnavigated the globe. There were also a bunch of famous aviators that flew out of here, including Charles Lindbergh and Lieutenant Jimmy Doolittle. Even the actor Jimmy Stewart, who was a avid flyer, he had his biplane hanging out here in this hangar for a few years. In the late 1940s, the airport officially was renamed LAX, and you started seeing commercial jetliners come in. Hangar One was leased out to a bunch of different airlines in the mid-century, but it was slowly becoming outmoded. So back when it was built, it could fit 18 small aircraft, but these days you couldn't even fit a medium airliner inside there. By the 1980s, it had been shut down. It was empty and dilapidated. It was even deemed unsafe. This was built out of unreinforced masonry, so in a major earthquake, it could all come toppling down. So some city officials thought that it should be demolished. Thankfully, in 1990, the Department of Airports worked out a deal with a developer, where the developer would spend $2 million to rehab it and seismically retrofit it, and in exchange the developer would get the rights to build a couple other cargo buildings right nearby that they could operate. Currently, it's operated by DHL. A DHL employee just politely asked me to leave the parking lot. So we've still got this crucial piece of Los Angeles and aviation history still sitting here. You know, it might not be as iconic as the LAX theme building, but to my mind, it is the most important building in LAX history. Thanks for doing LA with me.